Hey guys, it's LSP. It's currently the 31st of January 2022. So I'm going to do some analysis on Bitcoin. Before I get into that analysis though, please remember this isn't financial advice. I want to kind of prep for the remainder of the week. I am looking at Binance and I really want to pick up some Binance at some point. But I want to get a feel for what Bitcoin's doing to give me a better idea. Should I be waiting? Should I just wait, towards the weekend where we get a little bit more volatility? So we're going to go through some levels. We're going to kind of try and ascertain what's, what the general flows are. And then obviously at that point, once we have a better idea and a little bit more confidence in terms of flows, then I will be in a better position, to look at Binance and say, I'm kind of just going to wait. And I'll show you what that looks like on the chart. So we can see here, the last time I discussed Bitcoin, we know Bitcoin had this, I don't want to say aggressive, but we've been going down for some time. And we had that last portion of capitulation here, which was pretty much market wide. We can see this, across the board. Ethereum's the same, Binance is the same. We'll just pick some random ones. the same. Yeah, not as aggressive. Polkadot, the same, and so on. Okay, Curve, the same. So this is something that when Bitcoin started to run into this weekly liquidity pool, which is the larger area, I was paying attention to this and I was saying, okay, look, we're approaching liquidity. Okay, pretty strong liquidity pool. So while it's there, my thinking is I'm going to put up some multiple charts on my screen, the big boys, Ethereum, Binance, the main ones and so on. And I'm going to watch them as they're going into this level. And I want to see whether or not the correlation between these pairs, or I say pairs, sorry, I'm so used to Forex, but the correlation between, Ethereum and Binance, and some of the others is closely correlated to Bitcoin. And how can I use that information going forward? Because sometimes you get some that will show a little bit more relative strength relative to what Bitcoin's doing in that moment. So that reprieve, that small, week of we've hit the liquidity, now we're resting a little bit, has given us an opportunity to assess the reaction, the response. That response tells us whether or not we could be going higher or could be going lower. For example, if you look at Bitcoin from all-time high all the way down to where it currently is now, okay, there were areas along the way where price was responding, going sideways, responding, going sideways, and then we had that last drop and we've hit this. Because of that, Bitcoin hasn't really shown any affinity, to going higher during this move. There was no real moment where we could have said, you know what, this is really going to ripple. This is a turning point. We're probably going to see upside movement. We haven't really seen that. We've just seen a pretty decent trend to the downside. And the only real sort of in-your-face movement, that was quite aggressive and quite volatile was this one here. But even that, it responded. It basically came into this liquidity pool. It responded pretty aggressively, and then we ground sideways, little bit of a movement here, negation, drop, and then it just went straight through this and it's gone straight for the weekly liquidity pool. So what's the point of all of this? The context leading up to this very small portion of capitulation is what at least I like to look for to give me the ideas going forward. It's hit this level. I know there's been no real significant move to the upside. Price isn't really showing it wants to go higher. So now that it's hit what I believe to be a pretty strong pool of liquidity, pretty strong support, pretty strong support area, doesn't it make sense that of all the places that Bitcoin is going to pop, or at least turn, or at least attempt to turn, it would be down here? It's pretty significant, right? I think we went as low as around about sort of 32.8-ish. And we've had pretty muted response. We'll go down to the 4 hour and I'll just show you what that response looks like. We had the first dip here, then it dipped again, takes out the low, reverses nicely, starts to grind up, it hits this liquidity pool, and then it just starts to rest a little bit, and now we're just kind of grinding sideways. Does that look like a real reaction? Does that look like it really wants to turn and go higher? Now, we know Bitcoin's quite volatile. It could just turn at any moment. I could sit down tomorrow and price is at 45,000. I've seen this happen. But for me, I like to go with the odds. I like to go with the flows. I like to go with, what I'm seeing, and I have confidence in, my ability to be able to read price the way that you guys see me read price. So I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to say this. I don't see Bitcoin going higher at the moment. Okay. For me, until it gets through this liquidity, clears out the imbalance, okay, that big drop just here, and then starts to drive towards sort of 45 to 48-ish, somewhere around that area. As far as I'm concerned, it's going lower, probably 32,000, maybe as low as sub 30s. The initial thought when I was looking at Bitcoin, on this first bounce, that small level of capitulation, and we've just kind of been grinding upwards and upwards, but not really showing any indication that it's going to go, was down here below all of these lows. And you'll remember that I actually made a reference to this area down here. It's 28,000. We'll just call it 28,000. So, that was my first initial thought. Am I seeing price wanting to do that? Yes. That's what it looks like it wants to do. Now, there is confirmation we look for. If we drop down to the hourly, I'll just kind of give you an idea. So as price is moving like this, you can see the only thing that stands out for me is this, the second drop into liquidity just there, right? And then it snaps back. Yeah, so that effectively neutralized the movement. So we've been going down, 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 and then it popped. Okay, so that's just neutralized everything. It said, okay, we're just going to stop here for a second, and we'll see what happens going forward. Grinding sideways, a little bit of a movement up, neutralized. Grinding sideways, bit of a move up, almost neutralized. Yeah, it doesn't look like it wants to go higher. It just looks like it's grinding sideways. And I'll be honest with you, I can't really tell whether Bitcoin's accumulating buy-side liquidity or whether it's actually offloading, sell-side liquidity. So at the moment, I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to be patient, going over to Binance for me, as I was saying, and I'll just go back to the daily to show you, I was saying on Binance, that these two levels, I'm not interested in this one. If it gets there, I'll look for the reaction and everything else. This is where I want to see price 325 down to, around about 280. Okay. Is Bitcoin confirming that may indeed be the case? I think so. It looks like that. So even if I'm wrong, or even if there's, no real indication based on what I'm seeing on the charts that Bitcoin is going to go lower and probably drag, Binance with it, it still doesn't matter because it's not showing me the opposite either, that it wants to go higher. There's no real something that I can just hold on to and say, yep, we've seen a nice, breakout. We've seen a big, strong candle. Putting everything aside that I talk about in terms of analysis and the way that I look at charts, and just focus on the very, very basics. Are we seeing a breakout to the upside? Not really. Are we seeing, indications that we could see a breakout to the upside? Not really. We're just seeing a very lethargic kind of grinding sideways, a little bit to the upside, based off the first initial dip into this weekly liquidity pool. So with that said, I have to, or at least what I like to do is I like to assess, figure out if it's there. If it's not there, I'll be patient, and as the weeks are going, I'm going to be really focused and paying attention to the 4-hour chart, and I'm going to see whether or not, if price runs up, which is possible. I was saying 39,000, I can't remember what the actual number was, but I actually quoted it in a tweet. It was around about 39,008 something. Is an interesting level. So it's effectively inside this liquidity pool. At the time when I did the math, it was up here. So I want to see what price does as it goes up. If it goes up and it gets through this liquidity and doesn't respond lower, we'll probably eat into this a little bit, maybe touch 40,000. But when we come back out again to the daily chart, we're not really seeing any significant move. So even if it does get to 40,000, that's only there. You know what I mean? Is that a reversal? Is it a turn? Is it a breakout? Not really. It's just a small rally to clear up an imbalance. And then we'll kind of reassess and take it from there. So all of this analysis and kind of talk through Bitcoin is just to say this. I'm waiting patiently for Binance to respond to whatever Bitcoin's doing, because my trading plan for Binance, my investment plan for Binance, is to pick it up around about 325. I may get it, I may not, but I know one thing that I'm definitely not going to do, and that is buy Binance up here at 425. Yeah, so that's effectively what I'm trying to say. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed, this, I guess, mind-numbing talk over Bitcoin. I know it's not always easy, but, sometimes it's quite difficult to explain what's going on in my head, on the charts. But again, not really seeing much on Bitcoin, not really seeing any affinity to the upside, no real breakouts, no real amazing movement. The markets are quite lethargic, so we just kind of have to take a step back. I'm going to be patient, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking. Focus is on Binance this week. I really want to see what Binance does, and I'm hoping that it does drop lower, 325. If anybody's in Binance, then I would suggest that you wait as well, but that's not financial advice. That's just based on what I'm seeing in terms of flows. And with that said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next update. All the best and take care.